broadcasting live from California. Get ready for an hour of pure, unapologetic conservative talk radio. This is The Wise Conservative Show. Hello everyone, and welcome to The Wise Conservative Show. A lot happened this past week. The first presidential debate just occurred a couple days ago. I'm sure a lot of you actually went and watched that. But before I actually get into all of the content that I have set up for today's episode, I'd like to tell you about a new program within the Youth Revolt Network, the Dakota Wise program. It's actually run by my previous co-host, Dakota Wise. He now has his own show called the Dakota Wise program. It's only on youthrevolt.org. It's live every Wednesday. So go ahead and make sure you check it out. It's a few hours ahead of mine. But make sure you check it out next week and go watch his very first episode that, or listen to it, that just aired today. I just wanted to let you guys know about that, because he is my previous co-host of this show, and I listened to his first episode, and it's very good. I urge all of you to go listen to it. But getting into the actual content that I have set up for this episode, I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about it, but the presidential debate, if you didn't even listen to it or watched it, it was kind of all over the place. If you listen to what the mainstream media is saying, Hillary Clinton won. If you listen to what a lot of polls are actually saying, Donald Trump won. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of who was actually better. I have a little bit of highlights for you guys. It's just a short clip. So after that, I'll tell you guys my opinions on it, what Donald Trump should have done, what Hillary should have done, all of that. But take a listen to this clip right now of highlights of the first presidential debate.
Was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard. You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality, but that is not the facts.
And look at her website.
By the way, they were talking about NAFTA right there.
You know what? It's no different than this. She's telling us how to fight ISIS. Just go to her website. She tells you how to fight ISIS on her website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that too much.
The next segment, we're continuing the subject of...
Well, at least I have a plan to fight ISIS.
No, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do.
No, we're not.
See, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do. No wonder you've been fighting ISIS your entire adult life.
Folks,
go to the fact checkers. Get to work.
I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them, I will release my tax returns, and that's against my lawyers. They say don't do it.
Well, I think you've just seen another example of bait and switch here. So you've got to ask yourself, why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So he has a long record of engaging in racist behavior. And the birther lie was a very hurtful one. You know, Barack Obama is a man of great dignity, and I could tell how much it bothered him and annoyed him that this was being touted and used against him.
First of all, I got to watch, in preparing for this, some of your debates against Barack Obama. You treated him with terrible disrespect. And I watched the way you talk now about how lovely everything is and how wonderful you are. It doesn't work that way. So when you try to act holier than thou It really doesn't work. It really doesn't.
You had supported the war in Iraq before the invasion. What makes your judgment?
I did not support the war in Iraq.
2002.
That is a mainstream media nonsense put out by her because she, frankly, I think the best person in her campaign is mainstream media.
My question is, since you
would you like to hear?
Why is your
I was against the war. Wait a minute. I was against the war in Iraq, just so you put it out.
The record shows otherwise.
The record does not show that.
Why is your judgment?
The record shows that I'm right.
Earlier this month, you said she doesn't have, quote, a presidential look. She's standing here right now. What did you mean by that?
She doesn't have the look. She doesn't have the stamina. I said she doesn't have the stamina. And I don't believe she does have the stamina. To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
Well, as soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
The world, let me tell you, Hillary has experience, but it's bad experience. We have made so many bad deals during the last, so she's got experience, that I agree, but it's bad experience.
You know, he tried to switch from looks to stamina, but this is a man who has called women pigs, slobs, and dogs.
All right, so that's the highlights I already have right there. I'm going to go through what they actually said in there, and then I'll go on to my opinions about what should have been done and all that. So the very first part that I actually want to talk about is the tax returns exchange that they had. So Donald Trump, he went in and he said that, and this is actually, by the way, according to polls, this is the most memorable line of the debate. Donald Trump went and said that he will release his tax returns when Hillary Clinton releases the 33,000 deleted emails that she obviously deleted. And that is, according to polls, the most memorable line of this debate because, honestly, it's an amazing line that Donald Trump said. I'm sure he practiced that one. I know he said it in speeches beforehand, before the actual debate. He said it in speeches at rallies. And Hillary Clinton didn't really know what to say about it. This is one of the times people look at that part, and those are the people that say that Donald Trump won, the people who are looking at that part. Hillary Clinton responded by just saying, oh, he obviously has something to hide. She didn't even address the emails that he brought up. She just continued with the tax returns. And then what I don't get, she has continued the same narrative for months now of he hasn't said one reason why he hasn't released these tax returns. Donald Trump has probably said it hundreds of times. He has not released his tax returns because he is under a federal audit. Now, while it is not illegal to release your tax returns under a federal audit, as Hillary Clinton has brought up, it is highly lawyers say that you shouldn't do it. Lawyers say that you should not release your tax returns under this audit for certain reasons. And so Donald Trump is following his orders. And you heard in that clip, he said, I will go against my lawyers if Hillary Clinton releases these emails. So that was one of the parts that really, really, really stood out to me. It was a great attack by Donald Trump. This was part of the debate where Donald Trump was kind of controlling the flow of the conversation. He was controlling the entire discussion. It's kind of switched back and forth. The first half, I would say Donald Trump led. And then towards the second half, it was more trivial topics such as the birther issue. And that's when it kind of got more towards Hillary Clinton's side, just because Donald Trump didn't have any prepared responses to those. Which actually brings me up to the next point that I want to talk about, which is the birther arguments. Now, Hillary Clinton is going off and off about how Donald Trump had these racist remarks about whether Obama is American or not during the birther movement. How Donald Trump was being racist and discriminatory against Obama. Folks, if we actually look back to 2008, when the birther movement was created, if we look back to way back in 2008, during those presidential campaigns, the reason that was even created in the first place is because of a picture that Hillary Clinton's campaign released to the news. It's the famous picture of Obama in Kenya wearing all the robes and everything, dressed as wearing the Muslim robes. That picture Hillary Clinton's campaign released back in 2008. She's the one that started this birther issue all the way back in 2008. And now she's trying to take the high road, and Donald Trump called her out on this. She's trying to take the high road, saying, that she's always been great with President Obama. She's never insulted him. She's never said anything bad about his origins of birth. And sadly, people actually believe her. Sadly, people actually think that Donald Trump was one of the first birthers, one of the first people who actually created it, that it was conservatives that created this issue. It wasn't, folks. It was Hillary Clinton's campaign. And I don't understand how now she can be all goody-goody with President Obama when she's the one that started this. And I think that was another great response from Donald Trump. He attacked Hillary Clinton. He said that she was racist towards him back then. She said that he wasn't experienced enough back then, and how she kept attacking President Obama, well, then Senator Obama, in the 2008 campaign. But it's different now because now they're on the same side. Now Obama is campaigning with Hillary Clinton because that's how they keep the most power. That's all it is, folks. They don't care whether it's a lie or not. They just want more power. And then there was another segment in this about, it wasn't even Donald Trump and Hillary debating. It was Donald Trump and Lester Holt, the NBC moderator of this presidential debate. They were the ones trading blows. They were the ones going after each other because I believe 11 times, 9 or 11 times, within there, 9, 10, or 11, Lester Holt did follow-up questions towards Donald Trump, tried to correct facts that Donald Trump uses, and he did that no times towards Hillary Clinton. He continually interrupted Donald Trump. Upward of 50 times he interrupted Donald Trump within this debate, and he did it to Hillary Clinton maybe once or twice. And in this particular time, Lester Holt was using false facts, saying that Donald Trump supported the Iraq War. It's common knowledge that he never supported it. He's touted that for years now. And it's common knowledge that he never actually supported the Iraq War. And so he was trying to correct Lester Holt, who obviously was on Hillary's side. Why we're using these hosts that are obviously biased, I have no clue. He was obviously helping out Hillary Clinton this whole time. Donald Trump had two opponents in that debate, Lester Holt and Hillary Clinton. Is it fair? No. But he did respond very well to having to fight two opponents. It wasn't his best debate, I don't think so. He didn't answer the best answers. He responded to too many things that Hillary Clinton said. But we have to remember that he's not a trained debater. It's not like Ted Cruz, who has been in debate since high school. Donald Trump just needs to learn when to actually respond, when to take he took all of Hillary Clinton's bait. He needs to realize that some things you just shouldn't answer. Some things you just shouldn't respond to. But all in all, I think he did pretty well. Whether he beat Hillary Clinton or not is another issue. Hillary Clinton kind of controlled the flow of the debate for the second half, maybe even a little more than just half of it. Donald Trump controlled it for the actual issues, such as foreign policy and all of that, and history and stuff like that. But when it came to the trivial issues, which took up the majority of the debate, Hillary Clinton was controlling it. Hillary Clinton and Lester Holt were. So whether Donald Trump won or not, personally, I don't think he did. Personally, I think Hillary Clinton out-edged him. It was a pretty close debate, though. Both of them were not on top of their game, definitely. And the only reason why I would say that Hillary Clinton would out-edge Donald Trump is because she did have the help of Lester Holt, who let her talk longer, who let her, didn't interrupt her, who didn't correct any of her false stats, which she did use quite a bit. Meanwhile, he's doing all of that to Donald Trump. If it was an actual unbiased moderator, I'm sure Donald Trump would have done much better. I'm sure he would have actually been able to out-edge Hillary Clinton, which is big. He's not a debater, folks, and a lot of people are criticizing him on this performance. They're saying that he responded to too many things, that he interrupted Hillary too much. And those things, that's true. He did. But you have to remember, he's not trained in this. And Ted Cruz actually, just the other day, just a couple days ago, after the debate, he offered to help Donald Trump train for the next debate. And I really, really, really hope that Donald Trump accepts that offer, because Donald Trump really needs this training from someone who knows how to debate. Ted Cruz did wonderful in the primary debates. He's done wonderful through all of the debates in his career, because that's what he is. He's a debater. He's been in debate since high school. So this offer was amazing, and I really hope that Donald Trump accepts it, because that will be the best thing for his campaign. He has to really show that he can hold his own in these debates, which is and another big issue of this debate was who will have the more presidential attitude, or they'll carry themselves more presidential. Hillary Clinton on multiple occasions called Donald Trump racist, sexist, misogynist, everything, all of those. Called him names, called him by Donald the whole time. Donald Trump was very respectful. Other than interrupting Hillary Clinton a little bit, Donald Trump did not call Hillary names. He did not call her just by Hillary. He called her by Secretary Clinton, because he wanted to show that he can be calm and collected. Now, at the beginning, he was a little too calm and collected in his very first 2-minute speech, because they had 2-minute answers to the original question. Then it was an open discussion. In his first 2-minute segment, he was a little too calm, a little too Ben Carson-ish, but he definitely picked up, and he was the perfect amount. He was presidential for most of the debate, I would say. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton looked smug. She didn't look presidential. The whole time, after anything that Donald Trump said, Hillary Clinton had this smug look on her face, like, oh, I'm better than you. Even if Donald Trump was telling the truth, which he was most of the time. I'm sure some of his statistics were skewed a little bit just because it was right off the top of his head. But Hillary Clinton, she laughed constantly at what Donald Trump said. She carried herself very rudely, which is very surprising from someone who has been touting that she is more calm and collected in her appearance for president. And so that's really all of my thoughts on this presidential debate. It was a very important debate. It was the very first one. I believe it broke some records for viewers. It had a lot of people watching it. I hope that you guys watched it, because it was definitely interesting. I'm looking forward to the next debates, because these really are showing a lot about what their policy is, what their plans are. During the debate, Hillary Clinton didn't give any specifics. She gave the typical politician responses of saying, oh, we're going to make the world better and all that, not actually giving details about anything. And then Donald Trump actually went into details on some of his plans, which is very, very good. Donald Trump has come a long way, folks. I know I've criticized him a lot in the past on this show, but I definitely feel like he has a chance to win this now. He's within points of Hillary Clinton. It's basically a tie right now in the polls. So Donald Trump has a shot, and this next debate is definitely going to be another key factor. These debates are very, very important. These debates are going to basically decide who wins, folks. So Donald Trump definitely should take up Ted Cruz on that offer, and he should definitely prepare more for this next debate. And I think we might have this election in the bag if that happens. All right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, folks. When I come back, a new historic vote happened in the Senate and the House today. I'll have all the details on that. And more foreign policy issues coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
And that, class, is why America is the worst country in the history of the world.
Are you sick of your professors telling you lies?
Now remember, children, If you're white, it means you're privileged. Don't ever forget that.
Do you sit through class convinced that your head is going to explode at any given moment? Sounds like you could use some backup. Visit youthrevolt.org for exclusive content produced by young conservatives for young conservatives. Youth Revolt features a dedicated team of radio hosts, political columnists, and video bloggers, all of whom are 100% committed to taking back the future of this country. So what are you waiting for? Tune out your Marxist professor and visit youthrevolt.org now.
8 years with Obama, and now no one knows what bathroom to use.
The Wise Conservative Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Tune in to Millennials Rising, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday nights, for a conservative outlook on pop culture and American politics. Together we can reinstitute values back into our nation's young people and help create an alternative path away from the mainstream liberal agenda. Tune in to Millennials Rising, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday nights, only on Youth Revolt. The idea behind Youth Revolt is to let them, these liberal professors, let them know that we are here and we're ready to fight.
Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
Hey, little boy, you want some free college?
Bernie Sanders, that creepy uncle your mom warned you about. The Wise Conservative Show. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. My name is Connor Wise, and I'm your host here today. As promised, a very historic vote happened today, folks. Now, we all know that President Obama vetoed the bill that would allow U.S. citizens to sue the Saudi government over the 9/11 attacks. Well, today, both the House and the Senate got enough votes to override this veto. This is the first time that an override of a veto has actually happened in this term, in either of President Obama's terms. And President Obama is a little mad about it. He is saying that it is, quote, a political vote, trying to say that this was just because of parties and all of that. But folks, in order for this override to happen, there has to be Democrats and Republicans that vote for it. To get enough votes for this to happen, it has to be Democrats and Republicans. In fact, this was a very, very one-sided vote. In the Senate, the vote was 97 votes for the override and only one vote against it. That one vote was the minority leader, Harry Reid. And then hours later in the House, they had a vote on it. It was 348 votes for it to a mere 77 votes against it, with one Democratic member voting present. So this was very one-sided towards yes, obviously. And Obama is kind of mad about it. As I said before, he's trying to attack people for setting a dangerous precedent for allowing U.S. citizens to sue the Saudi government. Honestly, I feel like he only vetoed this because he vetoes everything that the Republicans bring up within Congress. He's been the leader of vetoes for the past 8 years. He has vetoed just about everything that Republicans have brought up. And this was just another veto in the book. I don't think he ever expected Democrats to go on the side of Republicans for this dire issue, allowing these 9/11 victims to get compensation from the Saudi government. And now, folks, if you didn't read it, there was the 18-page report that came out a few months back. And it basically showed a whole bunch of evidence of the Saudi government having a hand in the 9/11 attacks. And this was information that the U.S. government got directly after 9/11. We did investigations into it, and this is what our government found. And it was just released to the public a few months ago. And that's when this whole issue sort of came about. And all the way back then, when the U.S. citizens demanded back then that we have a bill that allows us to sue the Saudi government over these attacks. All the way back then, President Obama said that he was going to veto it. And lo and behold, he did. But that doesn't matter because for the first time ever in his presidency, it was overridden. Here's a quote from Barack Obama over this. "I understand why it happened. Obviously, all of us still carry the scars and trauma of 9/11. Nobody more than this 9/11 generation has fought on our behalf in the aftermath of 9/11. He's saying that they definitely should have compensation, but that is why the administration set up a victims' compensation fund. He says that he doesn't believe the ability to sue Saudi Arabia will be good for the long-term future of the U.S. Now, folks, you know why he doesn't want this to happen? It's sort of obvious. Who is he working with? He's working with Hillary Clinton. And it is proven that the Saudis have donated billions to Hillary Clinton, to the Clinton Foundation, and to her campaign. The Saudi government has contributed in order to get favors from Hillary Clinton and the Barack Obama administration. So he's not going to suddenly turn his back on the Saudis, the people who have given him billions of dollars for favors. Now, this is a country that Barack Obama seems to like to have a relationship with because of these donations. But if we look at Saudi Arabia, they are one of the worst countries in the world for human rights violations. They had a hand in the attacks of 9/11. They harbor terrorists. Saudi Arabia is one of the worst countries we could ever possibly do business with. They're one of the worst countries in the Middle East, or in the entire world for that matter. They're right up there with North Korea and Iran. They actually might be above Iran on the horribleness scale. But Obama loves to have a relationship with Saudi Arabia. Because, and when the left defends this relationship, when you bring up the donations and why, and all their human rights violations and everything that we should cut Saudi Arabia off for, they bring up that they contribute oil to our country. But folks, 80% of our oil does not come from Saudi. It comes from Canada. We get most of our oil from Canada when in fact we should just be drilling it ourselves. But we get most of our oil from Canada, not from Saudi, which is what the left would like you to believe, which is what the Barack Obama administration would like you to believe. It is not necessary whatsoever for us to remain allies with this country. And it's definitely not necessary for us to block U.S. citizens from suing this government that had a hand in 9/11. The deadliest terror attack in U.S. history. Other than the donations, I cannot think of any reason why Barack Obama would defend the Saudi government in this issue. Why he would say that this would set a dangerous precedent. Because this doesn't set a dangerous precedent. Getting compensation for a terrorist attack doesn't set a dangerous precedent. It sets the precedent of getting justification, getting compensation. Of compensating for a horrible attack. Of compensating for the lives that were lost. Of compensating for the damage that was done to our country. But we all know that President Barack Obama doesn't care about this country. He doesn't care about our freedoms. He doesn't care about our citizens. He cares about power and money. We've seen that through the past 8 years, continuously, time after time after time. Barack Obama has not cared about our rights or our freedoms or any of us. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. He doesn't care about you. He cares about getting your vote and then getting the power that that vote gives him. That's it. And that's what Hillary Clinton is running on as well. I'm with her. That's her slogan, folks. She is just as bad as Barack Obama on this issue. Hillary Clinton opposed this bill as well. She said that in many rallies, that it's dangerous. I just don't see how this is dangerous, folks. And apparently, the majority, a whopping majority, not just a small majority, but an overwhelming majority, over 2/3 of Congress, believes that this is a good bill. And this historical vote is definitely a great one. I also promised some talk on the new foreign policy. Well, it's not necessarily a new foreign policy, but a little bit of an upgrade to an old foreign policy. So we all know that Barack Obama has troops over in Iraq training Iraqi soldiers right now. Well, in a big move, because he thinks that this is going to solve all the issues, in a big move, he has okayed a request to send 615 more troops over to Iraq. And he's trying to act like this is going to solve the Middle East problems. He's trying to say that these 615 more troops are going to do anything. We barely have over 5,000 troops in the Middle East right now. And these troops are not fighting ISIS. They're over there training Iraqi soldiers instead. But Barack Obama uses these 5,000 troops as justification, saying that we are fighting ISIS. Folks, we're not doing anything to combat ISIS besides occasional airstrikes that wipe out towns of innocent people instead of actual ISIS soldiers. Barack Obama has done nothing in the fight against ISIS. He has disregarded them as a JV team. And he doesn't believe that we should send troops over there to stop this evil that has attacked us on our homeland. And by the way, these additional 615 troops, they're not going to be fighting either. They're just more troops to train Iraqis. The Iraqis are building up their military right now so that they can try to take back Mosul, which is the biggest city that ISIS currently holds. And so they requested more U.S. troops to help train. And Obama's like, okay, we'll send 615 more, because that'll do it. Folks, we need upwards of 10,000 troops over there. I know that's a lot, but that is what is necessary to defeat this evil. In a coalition with other nations, if we send just a mere 10,000 troops, we'll be able to take out this terrorist organization. But not until we do that will we be able to have any foothold in the Middle East. Will we be able to have any foothold in the fight against ISIS? This no boots on the ground policy has just resulted in more death and destruction throughout the entire world. Folks, ISIS is now in over 30 countries around the world, including ours. That is dangerous, folks. 30 countries. But, oh, they're a JV team. They don't matter. They're not going to do anything to our country. Now, this is the main topic that I talk about on this channel, on this show, because it is that important, folks. It is that important that we defeat this terrorist organization. Because if we actually look back, this organization has grown very quickly because it has had no opposition from our forces. It was Obama and Hillary Clinton that created ISIS when they pulled out our troops too quickly from the Middle East. That created a power gap. And in that power gap, ISIS was created. And they have grown exponentially since that time. They've taken over oil fields. They now have a working economy where they're selling oil, which, by the way, this relates to the last one. Saudi Arabia is actually buying oil from ISIS. They're selling oil to Saudi Arabia and a bunch of other countries within the Middle East. And that's how they get the funds for all of their weaponry and all that, which, by the way, we also have contributed to their weaponry. Obama has left a large amount of our vehicles, including tanks and Humvees, over in the Middle East. When he pulled out so quickly because it had to be done, because that was one of his campaign promises, when he pulled out as quickly as he did, he said, oh, don't bother bringing home the Humvees and the tanks. They'll be fine. No one will touch them. ISIS has our vehicles. ISIS has our weapons. And not only from just pulling out too quickly did they get our weaponry, but Obama is also sending weapons and currency to rebel groups in Syria, which are working with ISIS. So we are contributing to this evil monster, but the large amount of the public doesn't realize it because they think that President Obama is fighting them with these 5,000 troops in the Middle East. This is a very dire election, folks. Because whatever the foreign policy of the next president is, it will decide whether ISIS continues to terrorize the entire world or whether we finally destroy this monstrosity that has been allowed to live and thrive for too long. I think you all know what side is going to destroy that monstrosity. We all know that Hillary Clinton's foreign policy is only going to result in war with Russia, with her no-fly zone that she continues to bring up. It's only going to result in a stronger ISIS, and it's only going to result in a weaker U.S. military. The decision is clear if you are voting on American safety, folks. If you are voting on the prosperity and the peace of America, then you are going to vote for Donald Trump come November. It is obvious that he will be the one that will have the best foreign policy. It's not going to be Hillary Clinton. It's definitely not going to be Gary Johnson, who doesn't even know where or what Aleppo is in Syria. And it's definitely not going to be Jill Stein's militarization against global warming instead of ISIS. Donald Trump is the only candidate at hand that has a plan that will effectively and efficiently take out ISIS once and for all. Because he's not going to limit the military. He's not going to set up dangerous no-fly zones over Syria. He's not going to provoke Russia in the Middle East. And he's going to stop funding a nuclear program in Iran. This foreign policy that he has promoted is definitely the way to go. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, folks. One last break. Coming up afterwards, some censoring is going on within the MLB and also within high school and college football. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hi, everybody. This week, I want to make sure that you're aware of a group of young people that are out to reverse my fundamental transformation of America. This organization is called Youth Revolt. And before I go any further, I must urge folks not to visit youthrevolt.org. Now, Michelle and I, we're both gravely concerned that if this group succeeds, our children may not grow up to see the Marxist country that we will hopefully one day become. So I repeat, do not visit youthrevolt.org. And remember, I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I will use them if I have to. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
I don't feel no ways tired. You know? Don't let anybody tell you that, it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Hillary Clinton, just another political clown. The Wise Conservative Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
And that, class, is why America is the worst country in the history of the world.
Are you sick of your professors telling you lies?
Now remember, children, if you're white, it means you're privileged. Don't ever forget that.
Do you sit through class convinced that your head is going to explode at any given moment? Sounds like you could use some backup. Visit youthrevolt.org for exclusive content produced by young conservatives for young conservatives. Youth Revolt features a dedicated team of radio hosts, political columnists, and video bloggers, all of whom are 100% committed to taking back the future of this country. So what are you waiting for? Tune out your Marxist professor and visit youthrevolt.org now.
Hey, little boy, you want some free college?
Bernie Sanders, that creepy uncle your mom warned you about. The Wise Conservative Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. Once again, I am your host, Connor Wise. So this actually happened on Friday last week, but obviously it's in between my shows. On Friday, a Seattle Mariners catcher, Steve Clevenger, he was suspended for the rest of the season without pay for tweeting about Black Lives Matters. The two tweets that he sent out read, "Black people beating whites when a thug got shot holding a gun by a black officer. Cracks me up. Keep kneeling for the anthem." And then the other one said, "BLM is pathetic once again. Obama, you are pathetic once again. Everyone involved should be locked behind bars like animals." Now, this was in response to the Charlotte riots. So because of these two tweets, basically calling out the rioters and Black Lives Matters, and even Obama for not even condemning these riots, this catcher has been suspended without pay for the rest of the baseball season. Just because he used his First Amendment right. Just because he said that he didn't agree with Black Lives Matters, or he didn't agree with these rioters who were completely destroying Charlotte, who were threatening the lives of our men in blue, because a thug who was holding a gun was shot. These riots were the same story that continues to happen, that has happened multiple times within the past year, within the past couple years, from Ferguson to Baton Rouge to Charlotte. All of these riots have been over a thug that has been shot by police when the thug is trying to either get the police officer's gun or is holding a gun themselves. And Black Lives Matter has promoted all of these riots, and Obama has not condemned any one of these riots, has not said that this is not the way to go. He has not supported our police officers in any one of these situations, and he was called out by a catcher for the Mariners. But what I find really sad about this censoring, is just a few weeks ago, we had Kaepernick kneeling or sitting during the national anthem, and we had, just the next week, a large amount of different football players kneeling and sitting during the national anthem out of protest against racism in America, because the national anthem is apparently racist according to them. And all of this happens on national TV and everything, and it's fine. It is fine for these people to disrespect our national anthem. They don't get punished at all. But the second someone posts their opinion on what I believe to be a terrorist organization, because that's what Black Lives Matter is, they are inciting violence for a political purpose. That is the definition of a terrorist organization. And he disagrees with them, and he tweets it out, and he is suspended for months because of it, with no pay. It's this one-sided censoring. Throughout every social media you see, you always constantly see people who post conservative opinions. Their accounts are deleted or they're censored. But if someone on the other side, on the left, posts something equally as extreme, or even way more extreme, they're not censored or having their accounts deleted. Kaepernick and his fellow protesters within the NFL, they weren't punished or censored or suspended. And then one baseball player decides to call out thugs, and he is. This liberal bias within our country, within the social media, within every organization in our country, the MLB, the NFL, it's getting out of hand. Because anytime a conservative expresses their opinion, it is labeled as racist, is labeled as misogynist, as homophobic, as Islamophobic. Anytime we express any opinion, whether it be within schools, on Twitter, on Instagram, in a public park, anywhere, it is labeled as one of those. But then a liberal can go and disrespect our police officers, our flag, our national anthem, say that we should be killing babies more for abortion, and everyone praises them for doing such things. Everyone says, oh, look at them using their First Amendment rights. Good for them. But if we use our First Amendment rights, it is condemned, it is looked down upon, and in some cases, you're punished for it. Every couple weeks, we have a new story coming out about how someone is censored or suspended or what have you, because they express their conservative opinions. And it even happened in high school football in Florida. Two Christian high school football teams were playing against each other, and this happened last December. Two of these teams were playing against each other, and before the game, they requested to have, over the loudspeaker, they requested to be able to do a stadium-wide prayer. It's two Christian teams playing each other. The request was denied by the facility owners. And so on the field, the two teams prayed together Just a 30-second prayer before the game. And the Florida High School Athletic Association, or the FHSAA, said that that was wrong and they shouldn't be able to do that. And they condemned these two schools for doing that. And just now, yesterday actually, one of the schools is actually having a lawsuit against that organization, the FHSAA, because they're saying that they censored their First Amendment rights. And keep in mind that these schools, they are not public. They are private Christian schools. And this Florida agency, association, censored their rights to pray before a football game. So this school is now going and taking this association to court, saying that their right to religious freedom and the right to free speech, their First Amendment right, was obstructed. Here's a quote from the coach of one of the football teams. He said, quote, "They're telling the Christian school that because your speech is religious, it's not welcome here." And that's exactly what they did. Again, folks, if you want to protest the national anthem on national TV, you can do that. Or any of these liberal opinions, if you want to do that, you can do it. But the second you have a Christian opinion, it is evil, it is racist, it is bigoted. The second you have a conservative opinion, it is evil, racist, bigoted. It's the same story that just keeps happening and happening and happening. When will it stop, folks? Because it just happens so constantly. Hopefully this case does make its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. If it does, that will be a huge case because it will basically decide on the First Amendment. It will be another ruling on the interpretation of our First Amendment, which is huge. And again, that all depends on whoever wins this next presidency, on whether it will go towards censoring conservative values, or whether it will go towards more religious freedom and free speech. But in other school news, the liberal indoctrination continues. At the University of Michigan, a school-wide email went out to professors instructing them to stick to students' preferred pronouns. Yesterday, this email went out. They now have a new webpage dedicated to allowing students to choose their preferred pronoun, including they and Z. That's one I see a lot, honestly, from these far left-wing, I don't know, the people that have some weird mental disorder, the ones who think that they can decide what gender they are. They continuously use Z or Zay, I don't know how you pronounce it, as a pronoun. And I have no clue what it means, folks. It's just a random, it's Z-E. That's literally all it is. But back to this actual particular case. The professors will now on their class rosters, next to the names will be a list of their preferred pronouns. And if professors accidentally use the wrong pronoun, quote, you can acknowledge that you made a mistake and use the correct pronoun next time. The university's vice president said that. It also called using preferred pronouns, quote, one of the most basic ways to show your respect for their identity and to cultivate an environment that respects all gender identities. We're back to the safe spaces, folks. If you don't agree with someone's decision to basically disregard science, disregard biology, and they get to choose whatever gender they are, if you disagree with that, then you shouldn't be going to the University of Michigan. Because it is apparently bad to say that there's only two genders. It's apparently wrong to use science and biology to say that there's only male and females. To say that you can't make up whatever gender you are. This whole gender issue, it's a new issue that came up probably in the last year. And it's getting worse and worse. I mean, the long list of the different genders that they come up with, it's endless. Because they just randomly come up with words and put them together. And, suddenly it's a new gender. And honestly, it's just, I feel like the people who do this, they have to have something wrong with their brain to think that there's some other gender. To think that there's other genders at all besides male and female. But to even think that you're a different gender than you are is just, it's some sort of mental illness. That's all it can be. It is scientific fact. And this is what I find ironic. Liberals always tout scientific fact for global warming when they're only looking at like a 50-year span of weather. And they always tout that evolution has to be true because of science. But the second it comes to issues such as sexuality and identification for whatever gender they believe they are, suddenly science is thrown out the window and they can choose whatever they want to be. They get to choose whatever gender they are now, whatever sexual identity it is. The long list of sexual identities is now probably over like 40 letters to that acronym. And they just throw science out of the window. Science that states that there's a male and a female. Period. That's it. They just throw it out the window. Because they like to pick and choose which facts they use. If they even use facts. A lot of times if they even use facts, it's skewed data so that their liberal agenda is always pushed. They never use full, complete facts because there are no complete facts that are saying that these ideas are normal or that their ideas are true. In any regard. Whether it be gun control, whether it be global warming, or whether it be what gender you are. All of these topics that the left continues to push are not based on true facts or full facts. They're based on little snips of science or of statistics to fit whatever narrative the left is currently trying to push. And I have no clue where this new narrative of being able to choose your gender even originated from. It just suddenly popped up and all of a sudden the entire left agrees that science shouldn't be used here. The entire left agrees that having a certain gender is discriminating. I've actually heard people say that handing out a birth certificate with the baby's gender when they're born is discriminating because they haven't chosen what their preferred gender is yet. I've actually heard that, and that's one of them that a lot of us conservatives like to joke about, like to use as a joke. But that was a legitimate argument that a liberal has used. That is a legitimate argument that they tried to say was true. Because this newborn baby hasn't chosen what gender they are. We can't put it on a birth certificate because that makes the doctors doing that is just evil. It's discriminating against the baby. It's discriminating against their preferred gender. This craziness seems like it's not going to stop anytime soon. I swear, my fellow millennials, those of us who are not conservative, they're just going off the tracks, coming up with all these new genders and all these new sexual identities. They're just going way off the track, folks. And hopefully, America gets back on track with following that there's only two genders and knowing that there's not 83 different letters for sexuality. But that's all for today's episode of The Wise Conservative Show. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to this episode. You can reach me on Spreaker.com/TheWiseConservative, on YouthRevolt.org. Look at Youth Revolt's Facebook. and also follow me on Instagram at @the_wise_conservative. As always, thank you, and God bless.